As any chess lover can attest to, one of the great pleasures in chess is owning a really nice chess book. And chess books cover a wide range of topics, such as not just, let's say, openings or the middle game or the end game. They'll cover collections of games by the best players in the world, a biography, an autobiography, even the psychology of the chess game. And the list goes on. And of course, over time, chess books have, much like books in general, adapted to new technologies and migrated to the digital format. Now, to be fair, not all chess books will readily adapt themselves to digital, and you may not even want them to. And I'm not talking about, let's say, the complaints like alluded of, oh, I like the feel of the book in my hands and the paper and whatever. No, that's not what I'm talking about, even though I understand that those complaints are real and genuine. I'm talking about, let's say, larger books, collector's books, maybe with photos or other kinds that really they're just going to be lost in the digital. And it's a bit like, let's say, having the movie, The Lawrence of Arabia, which is this magnificent film of the desert expanse. And on a large screen in the movie house, for example, it's just overwhelming. It's incredible. Everywhere you look is this giant, endless desert scene. Now, if you take that film and you were to adapt it, let's say, to watching on your phone, yes, you can theoretically watch it on your phone. But let's face it, that giant expanse, that sense of wonder, well, that's going to be lost on a 6-inch screen. You might enjoy the film and you might be able to watch it, it'll pass your time. But that aspect, that, let's say, that awe, that's lost. And the same is true of some books. And I'll give you an example. I have one here. This is a book that I bought, let's say, about 20 years ago, and I paid about $100. But you'll understand why, because it sounds like a lot of money for a chess book, and it is. Okay, so here you have, as you can see, this huge hardcover volume, 1,000 pages or close to it, with all the games of Alexander Alekhine. And you're going to say, well, okay, so what? I can get all of Alexander Alekhine's games in a database? And that's true. But this is more than just the raw games. It's an extensive biography of his life through every phase of his life, including the games, and it goes beyond that. And I'll open it up here so you can take a look. Okay, so as you can imagine, you have this huge print, you have diagrams, you have annotations. And what are these annotations? Are these like the author's computers? No, no, no. The authors dug up these obscure newspapers and magazines over time, not just the books that he wrote, and found these annotations that were lost pretty much, unless you happen to be a really fanatical collector, and added them to all of the games. So it's all there. It's fantastic. But there is an inconvenience. If I take this beautiful book and I would decide to play over the games of Alexander Alekhine, and I have them all, well, let's face it, it's going to be a problem because I'm going to have to open up my book, and this is huge. As you can see, it's really heavy. I'm going to have to take out my board, and I'm going to have to go over the moves, and I don't know which games are really good, even though the annotations are all there. And let's be honest, a huge multi-kilo pound book, the size of an encyclopedia, playing over the moves of a text that's going to be really, really, really small. Yeah, that's just really inconvenient. And I won't even know which games are worthwhile. So, because it has all of his games. Now, believe it or not, this is a problem that was addressed even as far back as the 60s. There was this editor, a German editor, that published a series of books called Weltgeschichte des Schachs, which translated is going to be maybe the world history of chess. And they had these collections of all of the games or hundreds of games of certain players. Every volume was a different one. They had no annotations, but they had one interesting characteristic. They published a single diagram every 5 moves. The idea being that you could theoretically go through the games if you had a minimal skill in visualization, and it's just 5 moves. It's not that many moves. And go through it and see a diagram of that position every 5 moves and possibly play through the games without the need of a chessboard. And I actually have a copy here of one of the volumes. It's kind of raggedy or worn. This is the one on Botvinnik, and you can see it here. And yeah, it's been in better shape, and I won't show you the binding. Okay, here it is. It's really bad. But let me show you what it looks like inside, because it's kind of interesting. Okay. And as you can see, it is completely covered, every single page, doesn't matter, any one, with diagrams, every 5 moves. Now, one curiosity about this, and it was a really cool idea, to be honest, and you had this about every player. This one is on Botvinnik, but you had it on Capablanca, you had an Alekhine, and what have you. Anyway, all of these things have gone forward into digital format. So yes, the textbooks can now be found in Kindle. And I have here, and believe it or not, I actually bought an edition of Kasparov's biography in 3 volumes with 100 games each volume. Now, here you can see the cover, and yeah, this is not a Kindle, but it's the same thing. It's a larger version. It's a 7.8-inch, let's say, device, and it's very nice. And here you see the cover, and I'm going to turn it on. I've left it open to a page so you can see it. Hope it's not too bright. Yeah, it's pretty bright. But you can see there's a diagram, the text is there, and yeah, it's not interactive. In other words, if I click on a move, guess what happens? Nothing. It's going to flip to another page because it thinks that I'm trying to move forward or backward. So if I go here, more text, and so forth. Essentially, it's just the raw hardcover or softcover book transposed into a digital text format as if it were on my tablet or my whatever. But thankfully, the digital formats have evolved much more to take real advantage of technology. So you can now have ebooks, which is what they're called, in completely interactive format, specifically for chess. And in chess, you can buy books not just like this Kindle here, but you can find them in digital formats that you can play on your phone or on your desktop, and that you can literally play through all the moves with the diagrams. Every time you click on, let's say, the annotation, which would be the same as if you had printed the book, if you had the print book itself, except that here, if I touch, let's say, one of the moves, I instantly have a board reproducing all of the moves. I can go through the exercises, it can hide the responses, and you can even, let's say, consult the engine to analyze your own choices. Well, what would happen if I were to play something different here? What if I were to do this? Well, you can pull out an engine and see what it's like. Now, I've gone through the different, let's say, purveyors of digital book formats of the day right now. And I'm not going to look into the Kindles and whatnots and PDFs because that's pointless. You got the idea. I'm going to go through the interactive ones, books that are published now that come out in digital formats. So the first and more obvious example, simply because it's the highest profile one and it's the best known as of now, is Chessable. So let's take a quick look and see what Chessable ebooks look like. And know that you can view these as well on your phone or any other device. So this is the web page of Chessable. And Chessable is a series of ebooks that belongs to the chess.com conglomerate. They bought it up from Magnus Carlsen. And it provides ebooks in formats that can be read also on your phone if you download the app. Now, as you can see, we have a wide range of courses and a wide range of prices as well. So we even have My Great Predecessors, but we also have Mayhem and the Scotch, and we have a wide variety of topics such as openings, endgames, you name it, as well as price ranges. So in the price format, we can see we have less than $5, 5 to 15, more than 15, and that's because you can create your own courses and then set the price that you prefer. Of course, there are natural commercial works, and we even have free ones. So let's click on the free, and we actually have free books, but we also have, let's say, sampler chapters so that you can see what these courses look like. And I'm going to choose one by Johan Helsen called Free Defense. So I'll click on Get for Free, start learning, and it opens up and we have this large chessboard, and on the side we have the text. Okay, so let's just continue. Next variation. And this is essentially the natural order of the book, which of course is well adapted to the digital format. When we click on here, study this move. When ready, click Next for the quiz. Fine. So here we have your move, and of course, as we click on the moves, we can see how it appears on the board, and so forth. And this essentially is how it works inside of Chessable. They also have a quiz section that works quite nicely, in which you can test yourself against certain puzzles, though you have to be warned that it doesn't accept anything other than the ones that are pre-recorded. So if your move is slightly different than what it chose, or there's a side variation that's not included, it will ding you as having been wrong. Nevertheless, Chessable is obviously one of the major purveyors of chess ebooks and is well worth noting. Now, please pay attention Other than the wide selection of works that are available and the video possibility, it has to be pointed out that the price for this work, let's say Mastering Endgame Strategy by Johan Helston, is actually $34.99. Now, this is not necessarily a bad price for the work, and I'm sure it's worth it. But it has to be pointed out that it can actually be obtained much cheaper and also in a digital interactive format by one of the rival ebook purveyors, Forwardchess. And I'll show you that right now. So this is the page of Forwardchess, and you can find it in your browser, but they also have an app that you can download for your mobile phone or device, and it will allow you to view any of the books that you happen to buy and then look onto it and study it wherever you choose, much like Chessable. Now let's look up here, let's say Helston, so that we can find the same author. And we can see that they have indeed Mastering Endgame Strategy, the very same book, same edition, same everything. So let's click on it. And we have the work, we have an evaluation, of course, we have a sample if we want. And you'll notice that the price is not $34.99, but is actually $15.99. It says already bought because I did indeed already buy it. Nevertheless, we have the entire work here. And as you can see, they have a wide selection of works, sometimes at a much more interesting and attractive price. And this cannot be ignored. Does Chessable offer that much more value in the way they format or present the work to justify that difference in price? Well, let's find out. And here we have the selection of books that I actually own in Forwardchess. And as you can see, we have Mastering Endgame Strategy. We have Grandmaster Preparation Calculation by Jacob Agard. I hope I get his name right. So we're going to compare Mastering Endgame Strategy here so that we have a real apples to apples comparison. So I'm going to open it up. Now, because I was already studying the book, it immediately opens to the chapter that I was studying, which is actually one of the first ones because I recently got the book. But I'm going to show you what it looks like, the table of contents. So I click over here, table of contents, and you can see it shows a little pop-up. And I can scroll down and choose whatever chapter I happen to want. Now we'll close this over here. And you'll notice it has the text and the moves, and it's also in a dark background. This can easily be changed. This happens to be the one that I chose for my personal reading, but it also has a beige background as well as a white background. In this particular case, you'll notice that the text here is very legible, but the diagrams seem awfully small. How on earth am I supposed to manage this? Well, that's not really an issue because, of course, as we mentioned, this is interactive. If I click on this, I immediately see a large board. And this board can be adapted. In fact, I can edit it. I can put in, let's say, highlights, my own annotations as well. So I'm going to increase the board size slightly. Okay. As you can see, we have a wide variety of options. I'll leave it here, and there's a reason why I'm leaving this space under it. Okay. So I'll click here, and we can play, let's say, the app theme. We have it dark. Let's move it to sepia. And I can change, of course, the piece format, the board theme, whatever. It's all possible. So let's move into light to have a more, let's say, classical format. And here you can see the same thing, but with a white background and the board. And as I go through the moves, they, of course, appear here on the board. And I can make my own moves as well. So let's say it has King C6. Well, what if I want to do King E5 now? It's possible. And it enters here as user move. But suppose I wanted to consult the engine to find out what it thinks about this move. Well, that's perfectly possible as well. So I click on here, start the engine, and I'm immediately shown the response by Stockfish, which is the default engine inside of it. And this is how Forwardchess presents the books. I find it very attractive and very interesting, and it works really well with puzzles as well. So here we have the page of New in Chess. And New in Chess, of course, is not just famous for the ebooks that I'm showing you here, but also their magazine, which is really the greatest chess magazine ever. Really, there's no argument. As well as their yearbook, and both are available as well inside of their ebook reader. Still, if we scroll down, we'll see a wide selection of books that are exclusive to them, but not only those. And the prices as well. So we have, let's say, Ramesh, which is available in Chessable format as well. And you can see we have the paperback format, the hardcore, and the ebook. Okay, all for different prices. But how do the ebooks look inside of their software? Because that, of course, is a key element. So New in Chess generously offers a free book so that you can not only enjoy the book in their app, but demo their software and see if this is the kind of software that you're looking for to be able to read your books. So we have Bent Larson's Best Games, which is really a nice book because Bent Larsen was one of the great players of the 60s. We click on here, and we have an introduction, and of course, the first chapter, beginnings. We have a nice photo, we have all of the moves, the diagrams, some cross tables, and wait a minute, we have games. So let's click on a move here. Now, much like the other formats, we immediately are presented with a board on the side, and we can see the moves played. So we have f3, d6, c3, bishop g4, etc. This is all really nice, except there is one little caveat that has to be mentioned because it's unavoidable. The board is kind of small, and unfortunately, I haven't found any way to be able to reconfigure the board so that it comes at a larger size, unlike, let's say, Chessable or Forwardchess for that matter. Still, this is new in Chess, and this is their software, and you can use it on your mobile app as well. And it must be said that overall, the fonts and the presentation and whatnot are very attractive. Last but not least, we have ChessBase Books. And these aren't simply databases like their usual software or one of their downloadable courses. This, as you can see, is consulted directly in the browser, and it's a special format called ChessBase Books. So we have one here which is the one that I can see presented here, by Andrew Martin, Unlock the Power of the Benoni. So let's click on it, see what it looks like. And you can buy it for 10 euros. So it's a short course, presumably. And we can click over here, and we're shown what it looks like, let's say, inside of the content. We have the board. We have, I believe this is an engine. You can go through the moves, go through the introduction. And here we'll be presented with, actually, this looks like one of their classic video courses. So we have Andrew Barton clearly visible here. He will present his material. And we have the text inside of what seems to be a standard database entry in ChessBase, which is fine. It's a great format and is very usable. But it may not be the most obvious presentation of what you would consider a chess book. Still, it's valid content, and these are the options inside of ChessBase Books. And you will find a wider variety of content that should definitely be consulted. So that wraps up my overview of interactive chess ebooks published by various publishers and the softwares and what they look like. And while these ebooks may not have the attractiveness and appeal of a large hardcover that looks fantastic on your bookshelf and feels incredible in your hands, they do come with the benefits of not requiring a chessboard, being able to consult an engine, never lose your place in the analysis, and finally, absolute portability. You can take it on your phone, you can go through the pages, you can open up the diagrams, and you can essentially study and read wherever you are with no inhibitions or restrictions. And that's an incredible advantage, not to be neglected. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing. Bye-bye.